ABC-7 Extra.
Good evening, I'm Saul Sainz, and this is ABC-7 Extra Sunday edition. Happy New Year, and may it be a safe 2022 for you and your family. Thank you for spending your Sunday with us. The impacts of COVID-19 will be felt throughout our society for years to come. Employers are facing one side effect of the pandemic, the missing worker. The signs are on businesses throughout the Borderland. Help wanted, now hiring, all positions. These signs point to an even greater problem across America, the missing worker. According to the Bloomberg report, close to 5 million workers are missing from U.S. payrolls compared to what employers were seeing before the pandemic. Some companies are even offering bonuses or salary increases to bring the worker back. Although the labor shortage is across the spectrum, the service industry is being hit hard. The owner of L&J and newly elected chairman of the Texas Restaurants Association, Leo Duran, sat down with us in a section of his restaurant this past week. That section of the restaurant was closed off for a reason.
This room is closed off, obviously, ahorita, because we don't have somebody to staff it, so we're losing revenue.
Leo Duran is the head of the El Paso Restaurant Association, one of the hardest hit business sectors in the community. But it is also emblematic of a nationwide problem affecting other sectors of the economy. Restaurants were forced to close at the height of the pandemic, but the struggle now is trying to bring those workers back. Duran says right now the state is down around 80,000 employees in the service and leisure industry. And in El Paso, Duran says there are 3,000 job openings just waiting for candidates to fill those positions. But listen to what issues Duran and other employers face when trying to hire someone.
And we get employees, potential candidates to call in. Some will call in, some will respond, and they'll agree to an interview, a face-to-face interview. Then they don't show up for the interview. If they show up for the interview, then you hire them, being a qualified candidate. The next thing is they don't report to work. Taking that one step further, you met all the steps there, and you hire them. If they show up, they'll show up for a couple of days. And then we had one recently that faded away after 3 days. Gone. 3 days.
Employers are increasing wages to levels they have never paid before. But as Isaac Newton's third law of physics tells us, for every action, there is an opposite reaction. In essence, higher labor costs to lure the worker back to the workforce could lead to higher prices for all of us.
We will have to compete some way, somehow. So that order of tacos, enchiladas, steak, those are probably gonna have to be adjusted upwards.
The Wall Street Journal writes the issue will not improve anytime soon. Until COVID-19 continues to stop evolving with its many variants like Delta and Omicron, Duran and other industry leaders will continue struggling to find workers. In fact, CNN reports the worker was forced to reassess their role in the workforce versus compensation. Employers now find themselves competing for workers. But if you think only restaurants are struggling to find workers, listen to what happened when Sunland Park Hotel and Casino held a job fair.
It has been a challenge since we opened back in March. We have had employees come on board and leave the next day.
Extended unemployment benefits in Texas expired in September. So if workers are not showing up on unemployment lists or on any payroll, where are they? Tonight, ABC-7 Extra Sunday edition will examine if workers are dipping into their savings, collecting from social safety net programs, living off of food banks, or maybe even growing their own food. Are multiple COVID-19 variants like Delta and Omicron keeping workers at home? To answer these and other questions, we're joined by Leila Melendez with Borderplex Workforce Solutions. Also joining us is Thad Steele with TNT Management Staffing. Thank you all for joining us on this New Year Sunday. Ms. Melendez, we're going to start with you. How many workers is the Borderland missing, and where are they?
So, the unemployment rate in El Paso, we just released our numbers as of the end of November, and our unemployment rate is back down to 5%. Now, pre-COVID, we were at like our record low of 3.4. So workers are returning to the workforce. They're just maybe not returning to the jobs that they had. And especially in the service sector industries is where we are missing a lot of those employees that are that are not returning to those. So people are returning to work. That's reflected in our unemployment rate. And we've actually added numbers of people to the workforce. So they're working in different industries and in different occupations. Just the industries that we know are struggling the most are those that are at the front lines, like the service sector, the restaurants and hospitality, and also in construction. So I think we're going to keep seeing that for some time.
But let me ask you this, Ms. Melendez, to follow up on that. Are those workers showing up on the unemployment rolls, though, however, because we've noticed that they sometimes don't even show up on unemployment or the payroll. So is that indicative really of workers going back to work if they're not showing up on the unemployment line?
That's correct. We did lose, and I'll look through here on to get you an exact number, but we did lose a good number of workers. And what's interesting is that a large portion of the workers that we did lose completely off of the workforce were actually older workers. There were a lot of older workers in the service sector and in hospitality and hotel motel, and those workers have not returned. They are no longer on unemployment, but they are also not in the workforce. They just completely exited, perhaps taken an early retirement. And we've seen that as well. So that's a big portion of the workforce that we used to see that just has not returned. And so that is definitely an impact.
Yeah, Mr. Steele, we spoke briefly before the program, actually a couple of days ago, about the missing worker, and you told me that normally this time of year, your parking lot is full. Is it not full this year? It's not full this year, correct?
No, it's not. Starting in December, we saw a drop-off with walk-in applicants. We have a marquee outside of our door, our office, that has various job postings. We post on social media, Facebook, Craigslist. We have a lot of job orders pending right now. We just don't have applicants coming in or signing in via our Facebook page or our website. We're not sure why they're not interested in working right now. It's hard to fathom how they're surviving without working, but it's a problem we've had since June here, with 60 to 70 job orders pending every day.
Yeah. Before we delve into what the worker is living off of, I want to ask you, Ms. Melendez, and of course we don't have a whole lot of time left, but Mr. Steele as well, what are employers telling you? I'll start with you, Ms. Melendez.
So employers are asking us for advice as to, we're helping them with matching, with job matching and finding individuals that are qualified, but also asking us for advice on what other things should we be looking at and offering. And some of those things are the benefits package. It's different. And employees what they're asking us when we try to job match them is, what is the schedule? Do I have a flexible schedule? Am I able to do, a hybrid of work from home and in person? Obviously, like service sector, restaurants and construction, that's not possible, but it's also a flex schedule. Can I do 4/10s instead of your typical 5-day work week? And can I choose overtime versus making it mandatory? So we're seeing some of these tugs happen between the employers and the workers, where because there is little capacity when an employee starts at a new job, if they're not able to hire everybody that they intended to, then those that they did recruit have to pick up all of the slack. Yeah. And that then becomes overwhelming, and they say, this is a little bit too much for me. So it's a lot of those, things that are creating a less than desirable, job match because,
right.
Yeah.
Mr. Steele, I'll get your answer to that response when we come back from a break. You're watching ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition. As you may have heard in the opening piece, employers are increasing wages to try to lure workers. Is it enough? Or is the potential employee holding out for more? I'll ask my guest when we return. This is ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition, where news comes first.
Life happens. Plan to get great ER care. We make it convenient with several emergency locations and online check-in. Your community built on care.
Chevy is taking people lots of places this holiday.
We're going sledding! We're going to find the perfect tree.
We're going to Nana.
Let your Chevy dealer take you there with Chevy Red Tags, where the price you see is the price you pay.
Happy holidays from Chevy.
Find new places, find new roads. Very well qualified buyers may also be eligible to get 0% financing for 72 months on select popular SUV models. And you may qualify for $500 bonus cash when you find your red tag.
An awful lot can change overnight.
Breaking news this morning, the U.S.-Mexico border is now open to non-essential travel. We are bringing you complete team coverage of the reopening.
ABC-7's Good Morning El Paso knows you need to get up to speed fast.
The highest wait time is at the Atlanta Port of Entry.
The ABC-7 Alert Center is Good Morning El Paso's tool for the latest updates to keep your family safe.
Unvaccinated minors will be allowed in as long as they're accompanied by a fully vaccinated adult.
Only on ABC-7's Good Morning El Paso. When you need the latest news, turn to the ABC-7 Alert Center.
We have complete team coverage of these two deadly shootings,
with new details breaking minute by minute.
I did see a handgun lying in the parking lot.
The ABC-7 Alert Center has real-time updates.
ABC-7 photographer Jerry Nahida captured the moment a man was taken into custody
to keep you informed and your family safe.
Kind of like turned my head to the left, and then that's when I saw somebody laying on the floor.
Only on ABC-7, where news comes first.
Life happens. Plan to get great ER care. Get specialized pediatric emergency care at Providence Children's Hospital.
Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition. Trying to find employees, much less qualified employees, will prove to be a challenge in 2022. Once again, Texas Restaurant Association Chairman Leo Duran gives us a unique point of reference of what employers are going through to find someone, anyone, to fill a position.
Picture a turkey, at Thanksgiving. You carve it out and you end up with a carcass, okay? Which is, you're lucky to have the carcass right now. And I'm saying as far as the staffing. But some people are just holding on to the wishbone. That's how critical it is right now.
I also want to welcome back Lila Melendez with Borderplex Workforce Solutions. Also joining us is Thad Steele with TNT Management Staffing. Mr. Steele, I'll let you respond to the question that I asked before we went to break. What are employers asking you or telling you?
What our clients are telling us and asking us for is, what can I do to hire qualified candidates? And part of the benefit package that we're seeing evolve is it's going to take some training for these new hires, similar to what Ms. Melinda said on benefit packages. It has to be flexible if it's in a professional work environment. It does not work in construction. I participated with county prevailing wage. What we're paying in construction right now is significantly higher than what the county has in their prevailing wage. It's just getting construction workers, especially for under $15, $16 an hour, is not happening. It's a tough job. There's a job market out there that is paying them $15, $16 an hour to sit in an air-conditioned building, and it's not attractive to the younger generation. It's the other compounding problem to this is we're seeing a reduction in this older workforce that are retiring and just retiring early and leaving their jobs. I think we're up 13% over pre-COVID resignations and early retirements. We're just seeing a lot of people walking off the job. They're looking at different ways to earn a living from home. Here in our office, we've created a hybrid work from home, work from the office. We still have to print checks, so we have to let the people come in 1 or 2 days during the week. But they've gotten very used to working from home, and they're very comfortable with that. And we've seen companies that tried to bring everybody back in and lost a significant part of their workforce because they've gotten used to being able to work from home. And they might be living in El Paso, but working for a company in Seattle, Washington.
Yeah.
It's kind of the new workforce environment that we're being challenged with, is giving them the flexibility to work from home, giving them other benefits, training, and other perks that we didn't see 3 years ago.
Yeah. Miss Melendez, we learned this week New Mexico is raising their minimum wage to $11.50 an hour this year, then to $12 an hour by 2023. How much more difficult will it be for El Paso businesses to compete if minimum wages don't compete with our neighbors to the east in New Mexico?
It's going to continue to be very difficult for businesses. And, you know, we have so many small businesses here in El Paso, like 94% of our businesses have less than 50 employees. So they're small micro businesses. And so for them to compete with those larger employers where the majority of our workers work is a challenge. And, you know, so, you know, on the West with New Mexico and that wage increase, and then you have other businesses that, you know, are being attracted into El Paso that are paying a starting wage of $15.50. For example, Amazon had a huge blip, you know, just a few weeks ago when they were recruiting, and we saw that, you know, the Amazon factor here locally. So yeah, those things are going to challenge, and we've been challenged as well as an employer and with some of our contractors, even early in COVID, and even right before pre-COVID, when there were federal contractors that were hired for some of the migrant processing centers on post. Those federal contractors were paying pretty high wages, and a lot of people, you know, left for those jobs, and so it does have an impact on our local businesses.
Ms. Melendez and Mr. Steele, you both mentioned a common denominator as to why some of the older folks are leaving the job workforce, and it's attrition. Now, how is the average worker who left their jobs in 2021 meeting their family needs, like putting food on the table, paying either rent or mortgages? How are they meeting those needs if they're not working?
So I think, first of all, there are some expenses that changed. So, you know, working from home, you don't have the commute, you don't have fuel expenses, you don't have a lot of the same expense, you know, lunch expenses or childcare expenses. So when you look at the income and the outgoing expenses, I think families have, over the course of the last couple of years, figured out what makes sense. Does it make business sense for me to get a job, commute to a job, and for all of that income to be spent on the cost of me having a job, which is the commuting, the lunch, you know, the childcare, all of those expenses that come with having a job. So I think that that's one thing. The other is, I think individuals are we're seeing a lot of individuals have gigs, different jobs that they are doing, either small, you know, home-based businesses, online businesses, you know, for a few hours, a mix and a combination of different things. I personally know somebody in my family that has 2 different jobs, you know, that he just does on, you know, the hours that he can, when he wants, and he's going to make enough to fit his lifestyle. So I think that that's what's happening, is individuals are finding jobs or finding ways to make income according to the lifestyle that they want.
Got it. We're going to take another quick break. You're watching ABC-7 Extra. Still ahead, we're going to talk about that safety net. How is it that people are meeting those needs? We have food banks. We have like maybe Obamacare, something like that. We'll talk to our guests and see if maybe that's what workers are resorting to. We'll be back.
Chevy is taking people lots of places this holiday.
We're going sledding!
We're going to find the perfect treat.
We're going to Nana.
Let your Chevy dealer take you there with Chevy Red Tags, where the price you see is the price you pay.
Happy holidays from Chevy.
Find new places, find new roads. Very well qualified buyers may also be eligible to get 0% financing for 72 months on select popular SUV models. And you may qualify for $500 bonus cash when you find your red tag.
Days are built on mornings, and Whataburger is built on burgers. Mornings, burgers. Morning burgers? Yeah, all right. Good thing there's a burger made just for breakfast, topped with breakfast.
The limited time breakfast burger is back at Whataburger. Available by dine-in, drive-through, curbside, and delivery.
Prepare to feel good in 2022. Join Planet Fitness now for zero enrollment, $10 a month till January 6th. Enjoy tons of equipment in our clean clubs for zero enrollment.
Zero enrollment?
And $10 a month.
That makes me so happy.
You know what else will make you happy? Blowing off steam in our judgment-free zone.
It's all about the endorphins, baby. What's up?
It's this place, I tell you.
Amen, baby.
Feel Fit-tacular in 2022 for zero enrollment, $10 a month, cancel anytime. Deal ends January 6th.
The Acura Season of Performance.
Track sold separately.
Visit Fox Acura of El Paso for attractive offers on the RDX.
Download the new ABC-7 Storm Track weather and traffic app. Hyperlocal weather conditions and custom weather alerts wherever you live and work. Plus, program it to show you when severe weather is coming. Get the new ABC-7 Storm Track weather and traffic app now from the App Store or Google Play.
Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra. Also want to welcome back Lila Melendez with Borderplex Workforce Solutions. Also joining us is Thad Steele with TNT Management Staffing. I want to raise a question to you, Mr. Steele. What is it that you're hearing from workers when they say, look, I don't want to work anymore. I'm just going to live off of the safety net. What are they telling you?
They're really not vocalizing what they're doing. They're basically just walking off the job. And I think a lot of them have found a way to be entrepreneurs or find a way to sell other products from home where they're marketing on the internet. But I haven't gotten a lot of feedback from the employees. They really don't tell us. They just kind of walk away and don't come back. They don't qualify for unemployment. And as you stated earlier, Texas ended the extended benefit program back in June. Economists thought that was going to turn things around by September. It didn't really happen. We're still, the job orders are outweighing the people that are actually on unemployment. It's, for whatever reason they're deciding to walk off is still, I think, a mystery to our country. But it's a real thing. It is happening. I've read articles that fail to explain the real mindset of what these people are doing. I mean, the spouse might be having two jobs and the wife is staying at home with the kids, especially with the school shutdowns and the daycare shutdowns.
Right.
It became a necessity for one of the husband or the wife to quit work and take care of the kids, and actually
because they can save money, right? Yeah. Ms. Melendez, let's talk about Newton's third law of physics, and that for every action there's a reaction. And we did hear Mr. Leo Duran say that he's going to have to raise his prices. Is that what we're going to be seeing in the future? Not only everyone going out of their way to bring the worker back, but at the same time having to charge more? Do you foresee that's what's going to happen here in El Paso and, of course, across the nation?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what is happening with inflation, is that the cost of business then makes the product that we as consumers and the cost that we're paying a little bit more. So it's this cycle, because then you have individuals that are earning a little bit more because they're demanding more, which is driving up the cost, but we're having to then pay higher prices. So I have to pay higher prices at the stores and at the restaurants as well. So it is this this shift that happens in the cost of everything, labor and products. So that will continue to happen. And I think what we're going to see is and we did already see during COVID, which businesses were going to survive through COVID, which made adjustments, especially with adapting to technology and automating as much of their business, finding efficiencies. I also think that a lot of businesses have maybe they don't have the same staffing tables that they used to. They may have had 40 people before, maybe now they have 30 because they found some efficiencies, maybe. So there's definitely those shifts I think are also going to happen, but it's going to be yet to be determined which businesses and what types of industries really can make an adjustment, and how the service sector industry can adapt to the needs and what is now attractive to that workforce, what it's really starting to ask. And I think being willing to personalize the benefits package, where it's not necessarily a cookie cutter for everybody, because everybody's got a different story and a different need. So I think if businesses are willing to personalize and offer different things to different folks, that might be a way to help.
Mr. Steele, your business, you cater to some of the, I guess, construction and some of the low-level type jobs. Can those type of employers offer 401k packages and whatnot? And if so, is that what it's going to take to bring the worker back?
We have seen more than a dozen of our heavy construction clients offer 401ks. There isn't a lot of participation. However, they do a lot of these plans or a profit sharing plan that the employee gets a contribution from the 401k, even though they're not participating. And it is another benefit if it's structured properly. Even if they don't defer any money, the company is actually giving them a raise to put away for retirement. And with these construction companies and bidding public work, we're going to see their prices go up too, because fuel costs are up, material costs are up, labor costs are up. And so when we talk about it's an inflationary cycle. It absolutely is. We're going to see school projects, highway jobs that are going to be more expensive than was originally budgeted for, because everything has increased across the board: wages, materials, benefits.
Mr. Thad Steele, Ms. Leila Melendez, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us and explain exactly what's happening, what we believe is the evolution of a new workforce. Thanks again for spending your Sunday night with us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. I'm Saul Saenz, and this has been ABC 7 Extra Sunday Edition. Good night y buenas noches.